Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
And it feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light, when you hit that first joint, in the morning, and you.
I actually feel a lot more awake.
So, I guess we'll start by me asking you to think about a part that you would like to get to know better or change your relationship with.
There are only a few that I've really been able to hold conversations with and to be really present with.
Mm-hmm.
And I sense that there are others, but they're still, feeling outcast and feeling a less awareness. So, the most in tune with one, but I still haven't given them much practice over time and to feel like they can step back and rest now is that 3-year-old part. But there's also a 13-year-old part that I'm aware of that I've not had much opportunity to get to know. But that 3-year-old, I think, has done the heavy lifting for most of my life in the realm of keeping safe.
Okay. Well, so what I'm hearing is that you do already have some connection with those parts. And I just want to make the offer that, we could also start with just anything that's been up for you, any extreme emotion. It doesn't have to be a part that you've already identified. Sometimes people say, well, I got in an argument with my boss yesterday, and that's a jumping off point or a trailhead to start and figure out where the parts are. So
are you okay? Is it okay to cuss?
Sure, absolutely.
Are you fucking psychic? Because was it yesterday now? Or has it been 2 days? So not quite yesterday, but you're damn close.
Yeah.
A huge rupture with a boss. I don't know if I'll get to keep my current position as I contract work for this organization that I work with, and I teach and I run practice groups, and I have experience to supervise another supervisor candidate, and it was the first time, and my first time in that role, their first time to try to lead a practice group, and I was actually covering that group for another supervisor who needed someone to cover. So I couldn't really because I had another group that overlapped, but they needed someone who had experience. And so I was asked to take it and supervise it and give up one of my other groups to one a little less experienced. Well, not less experienced. She's wonderful, but to take up a group that didn't need as much. I don't know what the word is, not because I don't want to. She's amazing, and she did a great job with that group right here. So, but I stepped into this space thinking it'll be an experience like I experience in all of my groups that I lead. And at this point in our teaching, very vulnerable, but the students are aware that it's time to give, some growth points or possibly even constructive criticism. We work with safety so much. And then up to that point, a couple weeks before we had started saying, we're going to give some points now to think about. And we always check in and we're really gentle. And so I gave some feedback after this candidate had given feedback to a student, the supervisor candidate had given feedback. I jumped in and I noticed some things that I was like, well, this felt like it led the client instead of it having the client having the experience of being in control and leading. And I don't mean to step on toes. And I please, if it doesn't feel good, let me know. But I feel like I need to give this client that feedback. And I checked with the student, that feedback. And I said to the student, are you okay? I know I'm new here to you, but in this group, but are you okay? And she said yes. And so I gave the feedback, but then she shut her camera off. And then I asked the same question of the supervisor. I said, I'm very awkward here right now. I'm not sure exactly because I was kind of thrown in. And we, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to give you feedback on your presence and as you're the candidate and I'm here in a role of not better than, but somebody who can give you some genuine, heartfelt, compassionate feedback. And I didn't get to say all those words, but I checked in with her. I was, are you okay? Are you in a place where you can receive that from me? But I didn't think about it until after I did it. Because this was my newness. My newness led me to do this in front of students. And she'd already come up. She'd been a student before, and she's still a student as a supervisor candidate, but not at the level of these newer students. And so I realized right away the mistake I'd made because her energy shifted completely as soon as I started to give feedback. And I could tell a rupture had been made. And I'm feeling that still in my heart. When you said, is there an emotional experience? Yeah, my heart hurts right now.
Okay.
Thinking about this. And I know that's a part that I'm not too familiar with because I generally identify with a 3-year-old residing in my gut. Most of the emotional experience, but I could be there's both, possibly from that 3-year-old. I don't know.
Okay.
And so after this experience, I reached out to everybody I could think of, to my superiors, the owners of the association, and then out to this candidate. I'm like, I'm sorry. I realized this will probably, we even did that in the group. And she said, I don't know if this is okay after the fact. And I said, yeah, I think you're right. This is not okay. I'm so sorry. I said, I can't take it back now, but I'm sorry. But I could tell the damage had already been done. And so I reached out to everybody. I reached out to the students. I reached out to everyone. And James, I was met with utter shame from my superiors. They were like, no, Will, this is egregious. You should never do that. You should never do this in front of those students. And it was through messages, but I could just tell they were seething and mad at me. And I've never, ever, this is the first time I've ever made a misstep like this. And I thought, wow, this stinks. And I don't like feeling like this, but what a chance to learn and what a chance to help our organization. We don't have any protocols yet for this. It's the first time anybody's done it. It's the first time I've ever done it. And we don't have, there's nothing, I didn't have any training in this because I was thrown in. It was the first time I'd had this experience. So, yeah. So there you go. Did I have a rupture in the last couple? And it wasn't yesterday, but dang close, James.
Yeah.
Dang close.
Okay. And so, when I hear that story, I hear a lot of different things that we could call parts. The part of you that has that shame feeling, the part of you that spoke up at that time, or the part of you that is analyzing the situation as positive, or the part of you that's saying, we don't have protocols, this is new, so um, we could choose any of those to get to know. But if that um, I mean, the strongest one that I heard, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, was that kind of feeling in the chest, in the heart area.
Yeah.
Um,
Because that's present still.
okay.
That's here right now. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, if that's all right with you, I mean, would that be a part that you'd like to get to know better?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'd like to offer some comfort or some presence to help
Yeah.
to help. Yeah, that part.
Great.
To lessen this experience, because it feels like a pain in the heart.
Okay. What else do you notice about this sensation?
That it does connect with the gut a little bit. I notice a little bit of what I recognize of that feeling, that emotional feeling I get from that 3-year-old of an inflamed gut.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's there too.
Okay.
And that led to a shift physically right there. I feel it more in my gut. I still feel it in my heart, but I feel a lot of it in my gut now too.
Okay.
And it was almost for my 3-year-old, his name's Kevy.
Mm-hmm.
Kevy felt seen and heard and is grateful.
Okay. All right. So when you are noticing that sensation in your heart, how would you say that you feel towards it?
I want to help. I feel like I want to give him a hug and let him know that we're here, the older parts who have a lot of wisdom and compassion and can take some of the load that we can help.
Okay. So see if you can, in any way, deepen your access to this part that's making the sensation in the heart. Can you turn towards it? Can you see it? Can you close in on the proximity, or anything like that?
Yeah. I see my 3-year-old, who, by the way, wears a Superman costume, and the first time I met him, they were standing in a Superman pose in the costume,
Mm-hmm.
holding up my world. And I see them, but then I also see who they're protecting. There's a little baby part.
Okay.
It just says so much.
Okay.
It doesn't have words.
Mm-hmm.
It just has hurt.
Okay. So I would suggest that we talk to any protectors first, before, just in general, before going to these hurt child parts.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have to necessarily identify, is this a protector or not, but
Yeah.
so is this sensation in the chest, is that being caused by the 3-year-old part, or do you see something else?
I think they're interwoven. There's an element of they're the same,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a separation in that the 3-year-old was the first awareness of, we know this is not okay, and we'll step in.
Yeah.
We'll step in to make sure that you're never hurting, and we'll make sure that those younger parts who only know hurt.
I'm sorry. The 3-year-old is giving that message of stepping in to make sure no one's hurt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We didn't used to be able to have a conversation, but there's been some growth.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some awareness, and man, they have a great sense of humor. They've they've grown up a little bit in the last few years, that 3-year-old. So I still identify with that initial 3-year-old in that costume, but I guess I'm not even quite sure maybe how they identify. I haven't had a chance to check in and see if they feel like they're older now. I'm not sure.
Are there parts? Do you get a sensation of any parts that are protective of the 3-year-old? Parts that are.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
yeah. Kev, the 13-year-old, big time.
Mm-hmm.
But he was probably the start of some maladaptive coping mechanisms as a teenager that carried over into adulthood. So he's an amazing, but a great sense of humor too. And then definitely there's Will. There's I don't know exactly the age, maybe 40, 45.
Mm-hmm.
The first real awareness of being seen and heard in that environment we had touched on before we started recording, of being seen by an individual and truly seen all of the parts seen and going, okay, wow, Will's my who shows up professionally to make sure nobody gets access to Kev or Kevy or anybody else, and so that they don't have to be exposed publicly. Yeah.
Right. And is that part in the mix here?
Yeah. Will's here.
Okay.
He's done so much, and it's come so far to. He's able to have conversation in real time, especially with Kevy. Sometimes with Kev,
Mm-hmm.
but in doing some of the other practices I've done, and just really light, very very entry level stuff with other IFS, meetups that I've been to. So if we go to that place and I'm able to internally have the conversation between Will and Kev, or Will and Kevy, and it's often very humorous, and they're like, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here, and thanks for we're wanting to go there. Of course, you've promised to go there, so thank you for seeing us again, and and thank you for being vulnerable and transparent with other people and acknowledging that we're here. And they have a really great sense of humor.
Yeah. And how did that older part, Will, show up around this event and around the sensation in your chest? Where is he in relation to that?
Okay, say that again. I got to the sensation part and then I lost the track of the beginning of that.
So where is Will in the relation to this event, this rupture? Where is he when you're experiencing that feeling in your chest? Is he a part of it, and can you access him?
Yeah, I think he gets to be sort of allowed to be an observer, a third-party observer of the experience of that hurt, and identification, that inflammation in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably also a feeling of inflamed that shows up as that emotional experience of hurt in the heart as well. It's just feeling that sensation of being on fire there, that there's heat there, and Will gets to be there and witness them experiencing that. And if I had to say where he resides in the somatic, that he's able to do the dance between, I work in neuroaffective touch, and I'm aware of the neuroaffective relational model and checking back and forth. So Will gets to work with that professionally, and so I think he's doing a conversation between mind and body and these parts, and he's kind of doing this dance, and he's the practitioner going, okay, mind, are you okay if we ask the body if you're okay if we ask these parts this stuff? And I feel like he's kind of he's there in those parts, but he's allowed to be outside the pain.
Okay. So I'm just gonna, because you have experience with this and you have a map already, I'm gonna just kind of let you know where I'm feeling like heading and
Absolutely.
why,
Yeah.
and I'm completely open to like that being a bad idea, and so I want to listen to your intuition on all that. So one of my kind of rules of thumb is, well, we got to get to know these protectors before we meet these exiles, these younger hurt children. And so
Yeah.
my series of questions has been, in a way, kind of, I'm looking for the older protectors because I'm hesitant to dive right in with you. You and I haven't talked before, to dive right in with you with the 3-year-old or the baby, the infant, the 3-year-old may be protecting. And that could just be my
Yeah.
own lack of confidence and experience in it. But so that's kind of why
Okay.
I'm asking and these questions about, like, well, who else is in there, and what are there older parts, just because
Yeah.
I find that it's just a good place to start, and it kind of keeps me from stepping in too deep too fast. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's met with a lot of, we're grateful for that awareness. Grateful that you're aware that these things don't heal quickly. They heal slowly,
yeah.
and with a lot of compassion and grace. So
Yeah.
that's appreciated.
And yet, having said all that, I don't want to dismiss these parts that are saying, "Hey, well, I'm here right now." This 3-year-old part that says, "I'm here right now," and you have a connection with. I don't want to say, "Oh, go away," you know, um, in like a dismissive way. But I do want to look for kind of the drivers that might be protecting the younger parts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's generally, I'll have to be honest that Kevin feels like, we want to be seen. We want someone to work with us.
Yeah.
And that there's an awareness that Will is here as a protector because he's the only one that, to the outside world, has access to services. We can't have Kevin show up and go, I need help. Will's got to do it. Will's got to find the way to bridge the gap. And so he's the one who shows up and seeks help from a therapist or a counselor or a coach. And so, yeah, the experience is really from those younger parts. And so I appreciate that willingness to not dismiss them. And I think Will appreciates that, and that builds some trust.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so of all these parts, and this time I really will. Let's go whichever feels right for you to have a conversation with now. I'll let you decide, and we can go with it.
I got a 3-year-old tapping his foot going, are you gonna let me? Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, the 3-year-old.
Okay. It's fine by me.
Yeah.
We can do that.
A little crossed-armed, tilted head, little posture of, really, do you have to ask? We want to work.
Yeah. Okay.
we want to be seen.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your patience in working with me on just kind of, my own feeling of kind of just safety or confidence or like going there. So I'm okay with that if you are.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't feel a resistance. I feel increasingly less and less pain and less inflammation. It's still there, but a little bit less as we go.
Great. So let that part, this 3-year-old part, let that part know that you want to get to know him better in this conversation. And you might just start with a question like asking him what he wants you to know and just waiting for the answer.
He kind of hangs his head a little bit and says, I've told you before.
Uh-huh.
I know you already know. And
yeah.
So I'd like to be able to rest. I'd like to be able to not have to do so much work to keep you safe.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let him know that makes sense to you and that you see that. And thank you both for letting me in on that conversation that it sounds like you've had before. But yeah, let him know that makes sense to you. And
a side-eyed glance. He's like, I've heard it before.
Okay. Yeah.
with humor.
Yeah. And how are you with him now?
Say that again?
How are you with him? Are you like, is there proximity? What's your level of contact with him now? Is he
still feels fairly small, still young, and I feel like maybe he's been holding something up, whether it's pushing against the wall, holding space, or holding up kind of almost like an atlas holding up the world, or something. And I'm awareness of this will, this protector, just kind of going, is it okay for me to sit down here, near you on this couch or bed or whatever it is? And he's like, yeah, it's okay. And I can see him kind of that 3-year-old part just kind of slump a little bit and go, okay, I can see the posture with the body hesitant to allow itself to rest, but we're in a space of wanting to. Yeah.
So I'm curious, you mentioned this other part you're calling will as being in proximity to the 3-year-old part as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So if it's all right with you, I would ask this part you're calling will, how he would feel about letting you work one-on-one with the 3-year-old part.
I'm tremoring a little bit. And I had this when I was in meditation too, that it's just kind of need to move. So I think you're tapping into self a little. You're seeing the part that only has a physical, that physical expression of needing to release.
Okay.
There's a tremor, like a tremor, almost a TRE.
Okay.
And yeah, he's not used to being seen.
Okay.
But it's nice to be seen.
And what does Will think about that idea of stepping away? If you were to And I'm not saying he should. I'm saying if you were to say, Will, I'm here to work with the 3-year-old part, what is Will's reaction to that?
There was an almost immediate tears, a little bit of tears come to my eyes, and a feeling of grief.
Okay.
Like he wants to, because he knows it'll help,
Right.
but he also feels like, maybe he couldn't do enough.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just stay with that. We're not going to ask him to go anywhere. If that's all right with you, are you okay with just staying with that for a moment?
Yeah, it's okay.
So what I would suggest is that and this is kind of what I was pointing to before, is this is working with the older parts first, with the ultimate aim that you are able to work with the 3-year-old yourself, but we need to understand these protectors in orbit first.
Okay.
And that's just again, I'm new to this. That's what the books tell me. So if any of that doesn't feel right to you, then just let me know. But
no, I appreciate it, and I think everybody's in accordance with. We understand what it's like to be new and to feel the need to be careful.
Yeah, a lot of newness here. So, if it's all right with you, let's see if we can just talk to Will alone and see if you can ask the 3-year-old part, Kevy, if he would be willing to wait, because I think we can only do this kind of work really one at a time, with one part at a time. So see how the parts feel about talking with Will one-on-one, and if Kevy can wait. And you can even picture Kevy's in the playroom next door, or he's nearby. I mean, he doesn't have to be banished. We just need to try to focus on one at a time, I think.
Mm-hmm. I have to explain the internal here. He's like, I'm out here. Here, you hold up, man. You hold it up. I'm gone. I trust you, buddy.
Yeah, Kevy's saying that?
I'm out. Yes.
Yeah, he trusts you.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. Just let him know that you really appreciate that, and how does that feel to you?
It makes that part that was sad a minute ago a little bit proud to know that they're seen as valuable.
Yeah.
And that they're seen as trusted. Yeah.
Yeah, you're capable of this. So, and you have this relationship with these parts. So, you're in a good spot in that regard, I think. And yeah, you could just let old Kevy know that of course we want to get to know him and work with him, and this is just the process of talking to another part first. So
yeah, that feels okay. Yeah.
So turning towards Will, if we can, what does he want you to know, or what does he want you to know about him?
That he wishes that none of us had to hide, because the work of being the front-facing part is in equal parts exhausting, and it feels disingenuous. This is how we have to show up to have the human experience, but it's it's not how we're supposed to show up. It feels like this is how we have to show up, but this shouldn't be how we have to show up. He's aware of that.
Yeah.
That if there was a level of safety, which is a goal that he wants, that we'll get there eventually, hopefully. And he's aware that we'll get there, and that we'll will trust the process of allowing to, maybe little by little, some of the parts to not be afraid to be seen.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Let him know that makes sense to you.
Okay. Okay.
How does he react to communicating with you?
And this is asking Will if he'll communicate with me.
Or just notice what it's like for you to be in communication with him alone. How does he feel about it?
That he's not used to being asked and not sure how to answer. He's not used to anybody wanting to get to know him.
How do you feel towards him?
Compassion.
Okay.
Compassionate.
Can you show him that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That feels kind of like a warm hug to my system. And just checking in, I still have an emotional experience in my heart, and not as much in my gut still, but that pain in my heart is still present. But Will is open to maybe learning to be okay with somebody asking, "Are you okay? Can we talk to you?" He's not sure how to.
And it doesn't have to be we. I don't have to be here. This is between you and Will. So you can say that however you want to him, and none of his answers have to come to my ears. So just make sure that you send that message that this is about you getting to know him, and that you have compassion and that you're curious.
Okay.
How does he react to that?
I don't identify with words.
Okay.
But I think maybe that's Will in the heart a little bit, because I go to that emotional experience. I feel that instead of getting words.
Okay. Try asking, what is he afraid would happen if he didn't get your attention that way?
He's afraid that we wouldn't be able to function as an adult.
Uh-huh.
That we wouldn't be able to, if Will can't be present to shield, and it's often hard there's often an experience of we need to freeze, we need Will I'm getting some of that now. Will is present in that freeze that
Yeah.
to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm. So he acts as a shield. Sometimes he puts the freeze on things, and it's in interest
Mhm.
of safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that all makes sense to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Can you show him some appreciation for his intention in that, wanting to keep you safe?
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's not quite sure how to like, it's like, you know, awkward male
Sure.
side hug of, I'm not sure how to receive this yet, but I'm sure. Yeah, let's go there.
Yeah. And you have the patience and the perseverance to figure that out with him.
Yeah.
You know, how do you hug this part? How do you show this part your compassion and your appreciation? That's
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
you could try asking him, if you could free him up from that job so that he doesn't have to work so hard and he doesn't have to do the freezing and the shielding, because you are able to protect the 3-year-old or any other part. If you could free him up from that job, what else would he like to do inside of you?
Learn how to play, learn how to love, be authentic and open and vulnerable and spontaneous.
Yeah.
Just be a kid.
Uh-huh. And he's showing you what that would look like? Or you can show him, you can maybe offer him a menu of ways in which he could do that. Just kind of play with those images.
Yeah, I think he's not quite ready to go all the way to that place without having a presence in here now, and not just to disappear and to go play
Right.
fully yet, but he's aware of that desire, and
Yeah. Well,
and it feels like we can. Yeah.
He's doing a really important job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not just gonna fire him. The idea I think is that you can take over some of the hardest parts of it, and that you can also heal the younger parts so that they're not so vulnerable or being hurt.
Yeah.
And just kind of take some of the burden off of his shoulders. So and the goal is never to make any part go away. It's to get them doing what they do best. And if he's, if he could use his energy better in loving and playing, then that's a beautiful thing to shoot for.
Yeah. Likes that idea. That idea of being able to still be present and to maybe offer protection from time to time. But
Sure.
man, can I just go play?
Absolutely. Yeah. Try asking him how old he thinks you are, and just wait for the answer.
Okay. Ten.
Uh-huh. So let him know your real age. Just update him on that. Because he might be that might be part of why he's doing that job, is he's seeing you still as a 10-year-old.
A little bit of a disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really? Really? You're 49? We're 49? Yeah.
Another question for him is, what does he need from you in the future?
There's a little bit of confused feeling, I suppose. Confusion of Will's kind of like, okay, so if I'm here and I'm the adult, and who's the 10-year-old, and who's this? There's a little bit of confusion, and so it's not.
Yeah. Those are other parts, right?
Yeah. I think they want to do more of this. Will wants to be seen and acknowledged, and I previously had that sense from Kevy as well, and they've been waiting for a few years since it came into my awareness for us to do work, like we're doing right now.
Ask how would he like for you to see and acknowledge him on your own? Imagine we never talk again, you and I, and you're with Will tomorrow and the next week. What would that look like? How would he like to be acknowledged by you?
She's like, don't forget,
Mm-hmm.
I like to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's in response to, when life gets hard, don't forget, we can just kind of put it off to the side and play a little bit.
Yeah. And you can, again, kind of just brainstorm that with him and just think about what that would look like. I know for me, I like to get really specific right here because I'll walk away from the conversation and forget half of it. So
Right.
For me, it's like, okay, I'm getting out the calendar, like what, where, why, when kind of thing. And you can do that work with him. You can do that work now. You can check in with him every day and keep that question of how do we play? How do we, where do we do that? And that's kind of one of the general prescriptions is you have a contact with this part now and you can say good morning to him every day. It could just take a minute and just check in with how he's doing and kind of follow up with that line of what can you do for him and how can you continue acknowledging him? How can you bring that play into your life?
Yeah, that feels good. There's an overall awareness of it may be difficult at times, but we want to try.
Mm-hmm. And how's the sensation in your chest?
It's still there a little, but it's more of a very dull, like heartburn type feeling.
It might be a good time to kind of bring back in the 3-year-old or any other parts that you kind of asked for space. Thank them for giving you space. Thank Will for sharing all of this. It sounded like it was hard for him to share. It was hard even just to accept a hug, and that's legit. That's a valid thing. And to go through all of that is a big deal. So just thank him and thank all the other parts.
Yeah, I got a different expression from each. Yeah. I like that. And Kevy's like, it's all right, bro. We've been holding on. If we need to help too, we can. And I even saw Kev, the 13-year-old, off in the corner, just give a little nod and a kind of a teenage salute.
Yeah.
And and then Will's just kind of like, I'm not sure quite what to do, but I'm okay. Let's see, I'm on board.
Cool. So does that all feel like it's in a good place then? Does it feel complete?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As complete, as complete as I know we can be right now. And that's okay.
One part at a time, it's kind of.
Yeah.
And if you're like me or a lot of other people, you probably have dozens of parts and each of them deserve this much time and listening and checking in and understanding their relationships. And, it's a lifelong practice really.
Yeah.
But it's all that same pattern. It's all the same kind of figuring out where they're jumping in and sitting alone with them and getting curious and seeing how you can lead them and help them.
Yeah, that feels good. That feels, yeah, like yep. We also recognize how it can be exhausting to do the work, so it's good to just take these little steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're grateful to you, James.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me in and sharing all that with me. So again, I'm honored. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's do it again sometime.
Yeah. I don't know, what your general practice is. If you, do you work with folks typically over time, or do you, to prefer to have a certain, amount of time between meetings, and you don't have to work. There's absolutely no obligation to continue anything to anybody.
I love doing it.
Yeah.
I will. I'll send you an email with kind of, what works for me about where to go next, and I would love to talk again soon.
Okay, that's good. That sounds really good.
Cool.
That the parts were like, hey, it's yeah, are we gonna get to do this again? And there was a little bit of feeling for a second, but as soon as you said no, we're following up. And,
yeah, we'll get to do it again. And even if I get hit by a bus, you're on the right path, and you can find. I didn't invent any of this, so.
Exactly. And don't get hit by a bus, man. Come on.
All right.
Thank you, James.
Well, thanks again. I'll be in touch. And have a good night.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
You
Nice
too.
talking with you.
Right.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Zikri, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube, and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.